let's look a little bit more about the journey to secure. Okay, so what's the journey to secure? So imagine you're somewhere on the map. You're starting to understand what the map is about, what's on the map. What are some of the things that signify that you're inside of one of the kingdoms of attachment, so to speak? These are the things that trigger you. These are the kind of coping mechanisms that arise. And you're learning all the ways that you can start to practice becoming more secure. Well, once you know where you're on the map, naturally, you and many other people will want to start taking steps toward the secure side of things, the secure kingdom, so to speak. So I'm going to tell you what that looks like in a few different ways. So first of all, let's look at the stages of the journey to secure. So usually it begins with this. It begins with the first stage, which is unaware insecure. People start out, they're insecure, they're not aware of what's going on. They're sort of going about their day, going about their life and being in a relationship in a way that does not tell them, well, it informs them every minute, but they're not aware of what's going on. They're not aware that they're insecure, and they're not aware of what's happening. So when they get upset, when they hurt their partner, they're not aware of it. And most often, their partner is aware of it, but their partner is also insecure to a large degree, and it's very difficult for the partner to actually speak about what's going on in their partner's side without sounding blaming, without actually being blaming, or without actually being upset. So the journey begins with a lack of awareness and lack of skill or lack of security. And then over time, there's this sense of, wow, I just got into the same fight again, but it's a different partner. I got into the same difficult conversation again. And my partners just keep on telling me that there's this thing that I do, and I don't understand why I do it, but I just know that I get upset. And what if I could discover a better way to do it? And this is the journey from lack of awareness to awareness, from unaware insecure to aware insecure, which is stage 2. So that was unaware insecure's first stage. Stage 2 is aware insecure. So we understand that underneath all these behaviors and all the ways that our nervous system gets dysregulated, there's a lack of security. There's insecurity there. And that insecurity at a primal level, because of these templates that were given to us by the ways our parents interacted with us, we feel insecure about the world. We feel either insecure about the person that we're with or about reality for a variety of different reasons. And as a result, we're anxious or avoidant or disorganized about it. But that insecurity is present. And we're starting to learn about it. And the more aware we become about that insecurity, the more aware of these patterns, that these patterns are present, start to arise. And then we decide, wow, what if I could do something about this? What if I could change the course of that dysregulation? What if when I get dysregulated, I could do something about it so I don't get dysregulated? Or what if when I get dysregulated, I can find my way back to regulation? Or what if I can see it coming? What if I can see my emotional resources or my emotional stamina sort of going down like a tank of gas? And when it's going towards zero, I can tell people like, hey, I need to eat some food, or I need to take a break, or I need some time off, or I need to go for a walk, or I need some closeness, I need a cuddle. Learning how to self-care ahead of time before we run out of emotional resources is part of the journey. And that is the stage 3 of the journey to secure, which is to go from aware insecure towards aware secure. And aware secure is a long journey because there's so many tiny little steps of catching yourself, life being messy, getting in conflict, realizing what happened, what triggered me, how did my nervous system get dysregulated, what kind of self-care do I need to replenish my emotional resources so that I can get back in connection and I can learn to trust myself. I can learn to trust my inner child, my inner animal, all the parts of me that gets dysregulated, can learn to trust that the more evolved or the more mature, the more aware parts of me can actually handle the situation. And in a way, this creates a secure relationship within oneself, not just with our partners. That's very important because primarily as primates, as primal animals, we tend to engage with others. And then to some degree, there's a certain amount of reparenting that happens in the process of being in relationship. That's why we feel very young often with our partner. There's a part of us that feels very young, and that's how we get triggered. That part, that young part of us or that animal part of us gets triggered by the loss of connection or by something that happens. And then we want to find regulation. And so we go into that process of coping. But the coping is only momentary. The long-term trajectory is we learn to self-care. We learn to build our emotional resources. And as we do that, we're less likely to run out when something happens to us. It's a little bit like the video games where, you know, you're going around and like some monster shows up and hits you and your health just, you know, chops down, and maybe there's only 5, you know, you get hit 5 times and then you die. Well, in the case of emotional regulation, when you hit 0, you can become dysregulated. Things happen along your day. Some people call that spoons. Like when people say, I only got so many spoons today, that's because they're already dealing with so little emotional resources, and whatever they do in a given day uses up those lives or those emotional resources until there's no more. And when there's no more, they can't engage anymore. So learning to become more secure is not only learning to develop a bigger tank of emotional resources, but it's also learning how to replenish that tank through self-care. And then over time, if that happens over a number of years, it's not something you can do in 6 months. It's not something you can do in a single weekend. This is something that needs to happen over time, in tiny little steps, where you learn to trust the universe, where you learn to trust yourself, and you learn to become a better at taking care of yourself. And that goes back to sovereignty that I mentioned earlier. Making better choices for yourself and others in connection and in trust. That happens internally, and that happens with others. All right, so what does that look like? Secure? They're already in the secure kingdom. And they're moving around there, and they're helping friends. They're helping people around them. They're helping random people not random, but they're helping people in their life that they've decided is worth their love, is worth their time and their attention. And so secure people are all around you in your life already. They're the people who call you randomly and they're like, hey, I just want to check in, see what's going on. I want to hang out. And they don't need anything from you. They're just showing up, and there's something special about hanging out with them. It's not exciting necessarily, although it can be. It's more about that you hang out with them and you just feel good. You feel like your nervous system, like the co-regulation naturally happens with them. You feel good. You go home and like, wow, I feel like a little bit more clear. My nervous system is a little bit more landed. These secure people all around you. There's already what I call a secure network of people, or a support network, as some people might call it. The last piece of the journey to secure is to go from aware secure to unaware secure. Eventually, things blend in and kind of fade into the distance. When you've done this work for a long time, your natural reaction is just to roll with reality. Your nervous system might get dysregulated every once in a while, but you'll just get right back on because you have the practices. You know exactly what to do. You develop a natural tendency to be self-caring, to replenish your emotional resources. And then you go into the stage of unaware secure. And that's the sort of the level of mastery of security. And some people never reach it. They always have to be aware of it a little bit.